Pam keeps asking. She wants you to talk, Pam, about when you went to Disneyland and went in Walt's apartment.
Oh, it was so cool. That's the second time we've been in his apartment. So they only took this really small group of MTAC up there. And like they do everything for us when we're there. They're so nice. Like there's this big conference, but there's really only like 20 of us on MTAC, which is their advisory board. And so they set up all these really special things. We actually ate in the Opera House, which is where the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln is. And there was a woman who had worked there forever. She's an artist that spoke with us. And it was so cool. But then that morning we took there's going to be a series of photos done for the 100-year celebration of the Disney company. And they took all the conference attendees and made a big photo. We got in the line of 100, and we were the first photo taken for the 100-year celebration.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is
cool. I know. And then they took a small group of us into Walt's apartment, which is so, so cool. It's just such a really interesting experience. And it's so small. It's so small.
So here's what I thought for Friday. And it doesn't, because you got a lot of cool stuff. So you'd have most of the show. Okay, because my wife wants to hear a little bit about it.
All right.
Because she's been asking. But like, what's the most unique thing you've ever done at a Disney thing? And here's mine. I got a weird one. I went to the Big Bamboo one time. You probably have no idea what the Big Bamboo is.
No.
It's gone. No. It closed in 2004. It was a tiki hut that all the cast members went to right outside of Walt Disney World in Kissimmee. And it was like totally covered with cast member name tags, and all the cast members would go there after work. They didn't even serve food. I think you had to know a cast member to get in. I went with some cast members that worked at Space Camp. It was the weirdest thing, and it got wiped out by a hurricane, then got burned down. So it's not there anymore. And it feels like a fever dream. Because I was not a huge Disney fan at the time, but you got to go to this place. I looked it up on Wikipedia. It's called the Big Bamboo. And it was nuts. It was crazy. It was like a super themed, there were test track seats by the Johns. Somebody had stolen test track seats. But it was
my gosh.
Small. It only fit 20 people. It was crazy though.
That's funny.
But that, wasn't fancy, but it was that was something I bet you nobody else, very few people have ever even heard of it, I bet you. But it was crazy. Yeah. Big Bamboo. It was right outside of a strip mall. But
so let's talk about some of the things that we've done that are
weird things. Just being there during
I've got some weird things
the Big Bamboo. I seriously, I'm did I do that? And I know I did because I remember
you probably
it was a fever dream. Yeah.
It was. I was Googling. I'm cast member Tiki Bar or I couldn't find it. And then I was boom, there it is. The Big Bamboo. 2004 closed because of a hurricane and then never reopened and then burned down. Because homeless people were staying in it, and they lit a fire to stay warm, and it burned down.
Sounds a little sketch.
This place was super sketch.
Yeah, I agree with Eric's comment there in the chat. Someone's covering their tracks.
Oh, look at the Wikipedia page. You want to hear some of the stuff they did? Look at the Wikipedia page. It's Big Bamboo. I'm just telling you because there's more to the story. They staple women's bras to the ceiling. I think I didn't see that. I didn't notice that, but it was super dark in there.
It sounds like something out of a Stanley Kubrick film or something.
It was weird, man. But I was did that really happen? But it was a cast member hangout. Anyway, okay, so we'll do.
It's the speakeasy.
Right.
It was nuts, and it was little, but they served zero food. They had bags of chips. But you could order pizza. That's what they told you. If you want something to eat, you could order pizza from Domino's or something. It was nuts. Okay, so let me get this going.
Your show's going to be taken down after you air that episode.
Right.
Talking about it.
The Big Bamboo.
No one speaks of Big Bamboo.
Yeah, I guess, man. It was crazy, man. I was did it happen? Anyway. Okay, so let's do this. We'll do questions first, though. I'm going to kind of do that show now, really. Happy Boxing Day over in England to Malcolm. All right, this is 20.
The United States should really observe Boxing Day. I'm just saying we should always have the day after Christmas off.
Yeah, you need it to kind of recover and get back to your regular life.
Yes, or just have this whole week off.
I wish everybody has it off but me. I feel like it gets busier for me, but that's how it goes. Here we go. I get to be off next week once I get to Wednesday. 2014. Here we go. Welcome to episode 2214 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you had a great Christmas and holiday season. It's still rolling on because you know what? It's one of the greatest seasons of the world for me. It is still bowl season. Yes, right now as I'm recording here in the studios, I have a bowl game on in the background. I'm not paying attention to it, but it's in Scotty G's backyard up at it's the Quick Lube Bowl. That's when you know it's a big high stakes bowl game, when it is put on by an oil changing entire place. But New Mexico is hanging in there with Bowling Green, which I always thought was in Kentucky. Apparently it's a school in Michigan, but you learn stuff, geography. College football is educational. Anyway, we're getting ready to wish you a very happy 2023 as we sneak up to another year of podcasting. Let's make the rest of this year awesome. And we're going to do that by answering some listener questions. So joining me today, speaking of Scotty G, he is here to answer those listener questions. So Scotty G, we're going to be together this time next week, actually about this day next week. I'm hoping you and I are together at a Publix eating a pub sub. What's up, brother? Happy New Year. Almost there.
Happy almost New Year, Mike. Happy to be here. Yes, the that bowl game you refer to is always played at Ford Field the day after Christmas, and it used to be called the Little Caesars Bowl, if I remember.
Oh, hey, that's better than Quick Lube.
I actually went to it a few times. I actually remember memories going to it at the Silver Dome. Never been to it at Ford Field that I recall. But yeah, happy to be here. This is that weird week where I have no idea what day of the week it is. So I'm glad that you could inform everyone that it is actually Wednesday. So good to know.
Yeah, I'm just saying in the first half, man, both quarterbacks got almost killed in this game. So that's it's a good. I mean, hard hitting out of the MAC, at least one of the teams. So it's been crazy. So yeah, nothing better than football on a Monday afternoon. God bless America. That's all I got to say. And 3 bowl games tomorrow.
I just remember going to one of those games one year with my uncle. He's like, "This is what I call the new coat bowl." You know, it was just Christmas. Everyone's got on their new coats at the stadium. Like, I don't know why, like that always triggers a memory to me. The new coat bowl is what it should be named. So.
Yeah, this week everybody's, wearing the new hoodie, the new shoes, the new boots, slippers, whatever you got. This is actually, that's well said. Well said. Also joining us today, we're heading up Pittsburgh way, where I think they got a lot of snow, and I know we all had a lot of cold weather, but we're bouncing out of it this week. I think a lot of us. Pam Forrester, co-owner of the Magic for Less Travel. Late Merry Christmas and early Happy New Year. What's up, Pam?
Happy New Year. Yes. Negative 37 was a temperature that we hit with the wind chill. So I guess it wasn't actually negative 37, but I will say so. You find out things about your house, right, when it gets that cold. I will just say, and our wind was incredible. The snowman had to come in. The new snowman decoration. Steve was afraid that it would be ripped apart and blown down the street, and it was a good move because our wind was horrible. So in our family room, it's pretty much a whole wall of walls. Let's just say when it's negative 37, that room does not quite feel as toasty as you would hope it to feel. So, but yeah, we're back to normal now, back with everything being warm. But yeah, it was crazy weather here. But a white Christmas, I will say, to some degree. And we don't always get that. And it does feel very Christmassy. And we had lots of celebrations with different family members, and they all still went on. So it was all good.
It hasn't stopped snowing in Michigan since Friday.
No, it's like blowing here right now, little flurries.
Yeah, so. It has been snowing for many days now. But I'm just thinking about the snowman, though. Like, it would have been a sight to see. Like a great video of the snowman just, blowing down the street would have been hilarious.
No, wrestling the snowman is what I was expecting. Like, snowman and Steve,
Steve trying to take it down. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of good videos, did you all catch our friend George Rossi's video of Guava Dog sliding?
100. I watch that thing 100 times with my wife. I'm like, bam, bam. She's like, Mike, she's trying to do something. I'm like, I don't care what you're doing unless this house is on fire. Get over here because George's dog. Now I was like, remember, I gave her the context, right? I'm like, remember, George's daughter just saw snow for the first time like a couple of days
Right.
ago.
Guava Dog has lived a plush life up until
Mhm.
this point.
Yes, but that's the same thing Elizabeth did for Emily to set it up. Like, this dog has lived in Hawaii its whole life.
Yes.
Like, you got to see this though.
Yes, yes. She was Guava Dog seemed like she was very surprised by everything about what was going on. Like, poor little thing, she started trucking down the driveway and just ended up scooting down the road.
Down the
So-
road. So I know. And then Mallory asked me, like, Mike, what if that was Riley? I'm like, okay, I'd have freaked out because one, like, okay, the dog's like disappearing. Like, that dog is gaining momentum, like is speeding up down the road. I was like, but I don't know, like, because the thing is, you can't catch up because you can't run on ice. I said, I guess my move would have been to take a belly flop and like just hope that I start, catching momentum down the hill too. And eventually, like, we both end up in the ER together. I don't know. Like,
We need a BOGP funniest videos. I'm just
Oh
going
my
to
God,
say,
that's it.
we just need to have people submit them. Like, we need to do it once a year, but we can like run little clips maybe at different times. But I'm telling you, this is a winner of some sort.
And then you fly in the top 3 to the BOGP studio
Yes,
for like the called in
yes.
live voting.
Dude, that video though, that is the all-time. You can't beat that because
Yeah.
like I still thinking about it right now, my heart's pounding, but I'm cracking up. Like
It was
the
so
eyeballs, if you could have seen that dog's eyes, which you can't because the dog's disappearing like a comet, passing by Earth. But like the dog's
Yes.
eyes had to been the size of basketballs. I
I
mean,
mean, I just
for
got to go
sure.
back though. Pam's idea is brilliant though. I love the BOGP's funniest home
Funny
videos.
videos.
Like, got to make that happen. That's classic.
We've got to do something. I don't know that we'll fly winners in, but maybe
Yeah.
we could
we'll do something.
have them live from wherever they are and
Yeah,
show their videos.
just do what we're doing right now, and then
that
just
would
bring
be
them on.
funny.
Yeah.
It would be funny, and we do have the ability, Mike, to share a screen,
Oh, we
so you
absolutely
can
did.
share a screen of the video. Yeah. Mhm.
All right, and shout out to Cheryl who's tuned in over in Switzerland. We'll see her at Marathon Weekend, I'm sure, here in this time next week. So good to see you. All right, Amy has an email here for us. Says, "Hey BOGP crew from over at the Run Eat Drink podcast. Happy holidays. We're listening to the episode right now where Mike and Scott are talking about where Mike should have his first old fashioned. There's an excellent smoked old fashioned at Shula's Steakhouse. The show is totally worth it. Not too smoky, and there is a touch of sweetness that might be good considering it's Mike's first. If you need something sweeter and a tad less boozy, even though it's a non-traditional old-fashioned because of its ingredients, the smoked turkey, which is available at multiple locations across the property, including the Cruise Cup Lounge, is something that Mike could try to ease into bourbon beverages.
Scotty, can you even still drink the smoked turkey?
I don't know, man. We've had some fun nights with the smoked turkey. Let me just say that.
Well, see,
It's a BOGP staple.
Yeah.
Is that the one Moose always gets?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say because I've heard of Moose and smoked turkeys many times.
Martha's Vineyard. We have pounded quite a few of those smoked turkeys.
That's what I thought. Like during marathon weekends, we watch a national championship game, right?
Yeah, we were drinking those then. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Was that the beverage that was consumed a lot that night? Yes. I didn't have any. But I knew he did, and you guys all did. So she says, "Let me know which one you choose." Amy and Dana over at the Run Eat Drink podcast. Yes, I'm actually excited about this. I'm excited about many things. I mean, this is that time where I'm nervous about the weather because, like we've had a good scare with many flights being canceled over the past week. I had a couple of guests traveling from Portland, trying to get to Walt Disney World many times. Christmas Eve, I was, at Disney, like, they're going to be there on the 24th. No, they're not. Yeah, they are. No, they're not. They're going a different flight. Nope, that got canceled too. So, I'm getting nervous. But the thing is, like right now as we're recording, we're a week out, right? So I hear a lot of folks already on social media, like runners worried about the weather already. What can you do about it? Like if it's going to be 80 or if it's going to be 0, it's going to be what it's going to be. We're going to have to deal with it. You can't change the weather. Don't sweat it. I'm not going to worry about my flights. I can't change that. The weather's going to be what it is, but I can get excited, right? And I am starting to get super excited to see you, Scott, to see all the lizards and to have these fun experiences. So what are you thinking for a good old fashioned? Amy suggested Shula's and maybe Cruise Cup. Where do you think's a good one though?
So I just discovered a new old fashioned. So Cheryl's saying Topolino's has a great old fashioned, which they absolutely do. That's one of my top 3. I have a top 3 list. But I just recently had their breakfast one, which is a little bit different than their dinner. And because they put this like orange maple syrup in there, it's very sweet. It is very tasty. So that's one that's on my radar, Mike. The other one is because we're going to go to dinner at Citrico's. They have a great old fashioned on the menu there. I think that's a nice little. We just finished the race weekend. We're going to have a nice dinner at Citrico's. Let's top it off with their old fashioned. It's called like the 1822. I can't remember the exact name of it. Some kind of number combination, and that's really good too. But I know Pam might have some opinions too. I know like Steve likes old fashions too. Like, do you have any suggestions too, Pam?
He does. So the Enchanted Rose over at the Grand Floridian usually has a standard old fashioned and then a seasonal old fashioned. And some of those are really good depending on what their take on the seasonal old fashioned is. I know there's been some cranberry ones and other stuff like that. So I think for some reason when I think of an old fashioned, I think those flavors pair well with sort of fall. You know, you sort of think of like fall. And Wine Bar George actually has a great old fashioned as well. So there's some things to do. We've become the recommend places to eat and drink podcast.
Wine Bar George has that bacon one too, where that oh man. But like close by though, the Edison actually surprisingly has one of my favorite old fashions. And I mentioned Citrico's and then Topolino's. Those are my top 3. So we're gonna get you a good one, Mike. We're not gonna go like we're not gonna go to like Olivia's or the Gurgling Suitcase, which I'm sure has a mighty fine old fashioned. Like,
don't speak bad of
I'm not speaking. Okay. Mike, I have a reserved seat at the Gurgling Suitcase.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, the drinks there to get those, the conch
cooler.
No, that's on Castaway Key. Yeah. It's like some kind of conch something. It will come to me as I'm thinking about it, but yeah, for sure.
Apparently our podcast family really likes to drink because Cheryl says we got a good one at Topolino's called the Modern Fashioned, and she likes the old fashioned. There's a tasting on the Wish. She said it was amazing at the Hooks Barbary.
That is the secret bar that is in the Wish, which is the man's Barbary. So yes.
I didn't know what that is, but sign me up. I'm ready.
For sure.
And we're gonna miss Cheryl at the marathon weekend. She's not gonna be there. She'll be watching virtually from over in Switzerland, but we'll see her spring surprise. So that'll be good. She also says Enzo's Hideaway. So they're apparently everywhere. You can't miss them.
They are. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be at every bar. And then like the smoked turkey you talked about is like on the generic Disney drink menu. So you can find that at almost any bar at Walt Disney World. So you'll be all set, Mike. We're gonna get you a really good one. Depends on when in the week you want it. So like you tell me when you want it. Like if it's going to be Wednesday, if it's after
the turtle crawl. The turtle crawl is the drink to get.
The
Gurgling Suitcase. Yeah, it's always really good. I mean, it's very tropical. It makes you feel like you're on a beach. So,
All right. Next emails from Matt. He says, "Hey Mike, hope you and the family are doing well. My wife and I were talking the other day, and weren't sure on something related to PhotoPass, and thought you may have the answer to this." We both have an annual pass, but only she bought the PhotoPass for our family. So I guess it's technically registered to her. I'm running Dopey. This is Matt. She's doing the 10K and our friend is doing the half. Actually, Kim Taylor's in the live chat right now. So Kim, pay attention. She's a PhotoPass photographer. Since we are all connected via My Disney Experience, when I put in the bib numbers for the race photos, will they have the watermark under her My Disney Experience, or would I also need PhotoPass for this scenario? Can't wait to see the BOGP crew and fellow lizards in a couple of weeks. Let the taper begin and hope your knee holds up. I know the energy and adrenaline will carry you through most of it. I like most of it. Where does most of it end? In the pain, that was most of it. And we'll finish. He says, thanks, Matt. So I believe as long as you're connected via friends and family, you shouldn't have watermark, period. Right, Scott? I mean, I think we're good there, and maybe Kim can back us up.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we do it in my family too. We have 3 annual passes. We only pay for one. Like I have the photos on mine. But yeah, so as long as I think he said it was his wife like logs into My Disney Experience, she would have the photos without the watermark.
Yeah, I think you're good there. And Kim maybe can give us thumbs up. And if she says, Kim says, if she is linked as family and friends, she'll be able to enter your bib number and can download the photos for you. But we'll all be able to, as long as you're connected, you'll see them without the watermarks. That's what we all do. So we're good. Awesome. See you soon. And yes, let the taper begin. Scott, you tapering?
Yeah, I mean, I've been tapering for about 9 months.
The Kika taper. All right.
It's going to be an interesting one.
Oh, you crack me up. All right, next question is from Julie. Hey, Mike, hope you and the team are doing well and feeling festive. Back in touch with a question I'm hoping you can answer. We're beginning to plan a 2-week summer 2023 Walt Disney World trip. We're traveling from Scotland. We're considering June 30th to July 14th, but are we nuts to have the 4th of July bang in the middle of our vacation? I like the way they put that. It's going to bang in the middle of their vacation. They're from Scotland. We think it would be cool to celebrate the holiday of the USA, and we could potentially plan around the busiest days. Which days around the holiday are likely to be super busy? Just the 4th or a couple of days before and after too? Any 4th of July tips would be much appreciated. You never know. We might even spot some BOGP crew in the parks before or after your cruise. Thanks so much, Julie in Scotland. You know what? Actually, we had one of the greatest, seriously, one of my highlight days from the podcast, and we've had a bunch of them over the past almost 15 years. But we had a meetup in Epcot one year. I think it was actually on the 4th of July. And I mean, we had listeners coming, like, it was amazing. It was like, I felt like we were being punked. Like, listeners just kept coming and meeting. And we were doing, I mean, it was like we were like Tigger and Pooh and, Piglet and everybody. Like, we were doing a meet and greet, like right there in Japan. It was amazing. Like, I almost cried. It was so cool. I would love to do that again, either before or after the cruise, just to meet some listeners. And I would love to meet you, Julie. But Pam, give her some advice. So they're going to do a fortnight because they're coming from Europe. So I just like to sound fancy, but they're going to be there for 2 weeks. Definitely come and be a part of the 4th of July, man. Wear your red, white, and blue. Be a part of the madness. It's not that bad. It's awesome. So Pam, give them some advice.
It is. There's so much to love about the 4th of July. Like, I think that as the joke goes, right, it's the one night of the year when everybody else looks at the 4th of July. All the Disney fans look at the 4th of July fireworks in their hometown and go, they were okay, because it's like literally when you're at Walt Disney World toward the end of the finale, it's like someone blew up whatever park you're at, right? And I'll be interested to see what they do, like if they'll do something special at Fantasmic this year, since we have that open. Of course, we have the fireworks that are happening at Epcot and will also happen at the Magic Kingdom. So the only park that they typically don't really celebrate big at is Animal Kingdom, because that would freak out the animals, which makes sense. So yeah, there's so much to see and do. And we've always done like, oftentimes we do the ones at Epcot just because when things are really busy at Walt Disney World, Epcot feels the least busy, sort of, I guess, because it's so much bigger. I don't know. It's all busy, but it's all really fun. If you go into it with the right attitude, I have had, and I know you guys have too, because we've all been together, the best times at some of the busiest times of the year. I just am like, don't go there thinking like, here's our day at whatever. We're going to do this, and this today. We're going to nail a bunch of this stuff, get all this stuff done. No, you're there to just be in the festivities. So that's my advice.
Here's what I would say. This is a day I would not buy Genie Plus. You might say, oh, this is a day you really want to have Genie Plus because it's going to be super busy and you can kind of up the crowds. One, it's going to be probably at its maximum price of the year. It's going to be like Christmas, Thanksgiving, kind of that situation. What I would do, since you're going to be there so long, this is a great day. Sleep in, character breakfast for, like 10 o'clock in the morning, pool day, chill out at the pool, and then go to the parks just for the reason to have a dinner and fireworks on the 4th. I would say the third. Now, I'm second guessing myself here because, I still have frostbite, I think, on 3 of my toes at this point. So 4th of July is hard to consider at this point, but do they do the fireworks on the 3rd at the Magic Kingdom and the 4th?
Usually, yes.
New Year's Eve. That's what I thought, but I'm like, no, that's New Year's Eve. But is that the case usually?
Usually they do.
Okay, so maybe do go to the Magic Kingdom on the 3rd, Epcot on the 4th, but I definitely say on the 4th, make it a pool day, make it a sleep in day, a kind of a catch up on your energy day. Maybe go to Winter Summerland if it's back open, or Fantasia Gardens, do some putt, a brunch somewhere at a resort. We've done that, and that has worked out okay for us, right, Scott? I mean, is that a good plan for the 4th?
One of my favorite 4th of Julys was, I think me and Steve went to Target, went on a beer run. Would you say we found those great Cutwater Spirit margarita cans?
Run, yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And then we just hung out
supply.
A supply run, excuse me.
There was one major supply.
Yes. Yeah.
They were just excited because he didn't have to go to the company.
Yeah, because we got meat and cheese too, so that we could have charcuterie out by the pool.
Yes. It was very fancy.
Yeah. Mike is just telling our whole secret, but yeah, we hung out at the Boardwalk Quiet Pool all day.
Yes.
All day. Yes. It was so much fun. And then we just strolled into Epcot late. But one thing too, I will say too, Julie was kind of asking about crowds in that week. I think that's actually a great time to go, especially for 2 weeks, because after the 4th of July weekend, I think it tapers down quite a bit. And so you'll see that maybe during that second week you're down there, after the 7th or so, that the crowds will be a little bit, lower. But to Pam's point, I love the chaos of Epcot. Some of those are my favorite memories, when there's just thousands and thousands of people around you. It's fun to people watch, interact, and just, I don't know, there's something magical about being in Epcot on 4th of July.
If you don't stop and think to yourself, what the heck am I doing here? You're doing it wrong.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, there's something to be said for the energy, but I mean, you do got to question yourself a couple times, be man.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
What is going on? But that's New Year's Eve at Epcot. We're coming up on that, right? This weekend. And I mean, I still say it to this day. Epcot is the greatest place to be on New Year's Eve, but you question yourself 17 times that night. What am I doing? Oh my God, the dragon's breathing fire. Let's go. And it's awesome, but it is just madness.
Those have been my favorite days at Epcot, with our big group just hanging out on New Year's Eve. It doesn't get any better than that for me.
Right. It's the yin and the yang of it, man. It's living life. I mean, because it's taking it to the edge. It's a little dangerous. It's a little crazy. Yeah. It's a little.
I remember waiting 45 minutes for some champagne once with Steve, in a food booth, but still totally worth it,
dude.
Go
ahead, Pam.
The big tip is to make a dining reservation in whatever park you're in. Otherwise, you'll be waiting 45 minutes to an hour and a half for champagne.
Egg rolls.
And then egg rolls.
That's what I was just going to say. You said you waited 45 minutes for champagne. I waited 90 minutes for steamed rice in China just to have something to eat. I didn't care. I was like, I'll take, I can go to Japan and to Mitsuyoka or whatever that store is. Just give me something in a bag. I don't care. I need food. Yeah, it was crazy.
And the same goes, absolutely, with 4th of July. I know our families have done chefs de France a few years now. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's fun though, because you lock in that ADR. You're going to be sitting down for a while. You're going to get fed a nice meal. Use the bathroom at whatever restaurant you go to, because that's important as well. But you're going to have an awesome time, Julie. Go to Epcot for 4th of July.
Yeah, for sure. Totally do it. All right. So Hartford has some feedback from. We had a question about vegetarian options last week. Yeah. I think it was just Scott and I, and we're like, we don't know, because we don't eat vegetarian. But he came in, he said, listener questions. They have a vegetarian Ronto wrap that his wife loves. He says the quick service by the old trails of the Jedi location has a hummus and veggies item that his wife was crazy about. And I think Brown Derby modified the Cobb salad for my wife, and it had a vegetarian version, but he says he's not sure about that one. And I think it's Ale and Compass that has a buffalo cauliflower everyone raves about. Mm-hmm. He says he also believes Columbia Harbor House has options. Jico has the best vegetarian dish my wife said she has ever had. So there you go.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say on the show. I don't know all the options, but if you go to a signature restaurant, they're going to make you an out of this world vegetarian meal. You
100%.
Just talk to the server. They'll have some great options for you.
All right. How about
the buffalo cauliflower is so good. So it's really good.
That's really good that's actually the one item I liked at Space 220 was that buffalo cauliflower.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to this one. It's about Disneyland. It's from Lydia. Hello, BOGP crew. My husband and I are taking our first trip to Disneyland in early January. Even though many people say it's more chill and less planning out there, I'm still pretty overwhelmed and would love your advice on a few things. Let me just tell you, Lydia, because it kind of seems that way on the front end. Once you get to those gates, though, it is so chill. I don't know what it was. Like, I was like, it was wild. Like, I don't even know what it was. It was just like I felt like I'm home and I'd never been there. It's hard to put your. We're gonna talk a little bit about this on Friday because Pam's gonna talk about some cool stuff at Disneyland she got to do. But man, I am just missing Disneyland, and I just fell in love with it. Even before, I didn't even have tickets the first day we were there. We just walked through downtown Disney because we're staying at the Disneyland Hotel. I stood at the gate and I was just like, oh man, that train station. Like I can't, I could just talk about it all night. I loved it. Anyway, she has 3 questions. Number 1, I hear the food and snacks are so much better in Disneyland, but I can't find any good starting points for must eats. We're only there for 3 days, so time is short. Also, on our first day, they will be starting the will there still be holiday offerings? What snacks and or quick service meals are non-negotiable? Let me hit all 3 so we have the context. Number 2, January 8th is our first day in the parks. It's also it's also the last day of the holiday offerings, and it's her birthday. What do we have to do to celebrate everything? And number 3, I was able to get a Blue Bayou reservation for our 3rd/final day. However, I'm considering canceling. Do you think Blue Bayou is worth it? I've heard it's a bit expensive, and I don't know if our limited time is better spent doing or eating something else. Thank you for everything you do for us listeners, and thanks, Mike, for helping me book our first Disneyland trip. Lydia's out in New Jersey. So first of all, Lydia, Happy New Year, and you are going to have so much fun. I'm just telling you, the smile on your face, you're going to have plastic surgery to get it wiped off your face for a month. It's crazy. It's awesome. Number 3, I'm just going to tell you, the question about Blue Bayou, non-negotiable. If you cancel that reservation, I'm jumping on a plane and coming to New Jersey, because I'm telling you what, you're a Disney fan. And I got to do this meal because of my boy Scotty G. He booked this reservation for us. In the fact that I was sitting inside Pirates of the Caribbean, and that ride is superior at Disneyland. People are right. It's awesome. The fact that I was sitting inside Disneyland, I was having a Monte Cristo, which is whoever invented a Monte Cristo sandwich was insane, but in the best way ever, because it's like a donut sandwich. And I was having a hurricane. I mean, I was having the hurricane drink you would get like in New Orleans with my boy sitting across from me in New Orleans Square in Disneyland Park. I was like, I had died. It was our last day. I was like, this, if you look up perfect in the dictionary, this was it. It was the perfect meal. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care how much time it took. Period. It was awesome. Do not cancel. It was amazing. So that's what I'm going to say to that one. You guys can talk about it. Maybe you can, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but this is my opinion. But what about the non-negotiables? Where does she start on snacks and counter service? And what did she do for her birthday? I mean, Blue Bayou's it to me, but Scott, I'll let you go. Then Pam, you can take the floor. But Scott, give her some thoughts.
I mean, just staying in that general area, that's like my favorite part of Disneyland Park is like the New Orleans Square. So that's why I think Blue Bayou is a great spot to be. I think there's some better like food offerings potentially for table service meals and at the Disneyland Resort, but there's something historical about being in Blue Bayou. So I think that's a good one to keep for sure. But for my favorite snack, it's like right there. Like you have to have the Mickey beignets. I mean, that is just a classic Disneyland snack. I don't know if you would like a mint julep. They're non-alcoholic, but have yourself like a little mint julep with it too. But the Mickey beignets are so great. They have seasonal flavors too. And I've had some hit or miss seasonal flavors. I don't know about you, Pam, but I've had some misses on those. So just stick with the classic, I would say, for sure. But you can try the special ones too. But that is my quintessential snack. You got to have the Mickey beignets.
I also like the what did you get off that cart on Main Street? Was it the I mean, it was
corn
like
dog.
Corn dog.
Yeah,
oh my god,
yeah.
I think it was so good. Why did I forget what it was? Like that. Yeah, that was super good. So don't miss that. Pam, what other things do you not miss?
Okay, so there's a few things here. Something from the Jolly Holiday Bakery. Everything that I've ever had there is fantastic, but they're of course very famous for the Matterhorn macaroons, which are so good. But really, everything there is really good. The grilled cheese is good. We had a Thanksgiving sandwich out there recently that was really good. So just make sure you try something you can do. They're open for breakfast and lunch and dinner and snacks and all of that, and it's counter service.
And you can usually get the grilled cheese for breakfast, which is what
Yes, I know you can, so it's good. You're also gonna want to maybe go to the Lamplight Lounge in California Adventure. I think it's just a really unique spot. If you can't get in the restaurant, they have an outdoor lounge location, which is up a little bit there. You sort of look down over the water, which is beautiful. But I really like that location. It is sit down, or the lounge, which also has drinks and appetizers and some entrees as well. I would try to get one of the fireworks or evening show packages, whether it's Phantasmic or World of Color or something like that. What you have to understand about Disneyland that is different from Disney World is that so many locals come in for the evening to see those shows that it's really busy all the time. So if you have a location locked in for one of those, you'll be ahead of the curve there a little bit. The PIM test kitchen in California in Adventures campus is really a cool location too. So I would try that one out, and just so unique to Disneyland. And then Trader Sam's over at the I'm going to say at the Polynesian. Nope. At the Disneyland Hotel is another place that you want to check out. But the good thing to know about Disneyland is, first of all, there's not nearly as many sit-down locations. I would say they could probably use another few there, but their counter service location food is I think better than at Walt Disney World, and at least more variety. So you'll be able to find something to eat there.
One thing I was going
to go ahead. Yeah, we'll just throw in real quick. The Hungry Bear was, I mean, it's just basic counter service food like chicken sandwiches and stuff, but the atmosphere is super cool because you're kind of back there eating in the woods by Splash Mountain. That was very cool. And also, what was the other thing? I was just thinking about it. Well, go ahead, Scott. I'll remember it because it was my favorite. Oh no, it was those cinnamon chips from Rancho del Zocalo. I'm telling you what, man, they come in just like a brown bag. I mean, it looks like a brown bag you would take to school, right? Like your brown bag in your lunch. But they were just basically tortilla chips drowned in cinnamon. They were so good. They were kind of like what Taco Bell serves, but they were 10 times better. And you got a ton of them. We just kept eating them back in the hotel the whole time, and they're the best things ever. Yes, the Rancho del Zocalo, the tortilla chips covered in cinnamon. So good. Okay, Scott, wrap. Go ahead.
Mike, I thought for sure you're going to say the free bread at the bread tour, because that is one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite things. Got to get your sourdough, you know. But she was talking about the holidays too, because she said that she gets there January 8th. I believe that might have been her birthday too, and that's kind of like when the holidays are wrapping up. I've only done this a couple times, but I really love their holiday festival at California Adventure. Very similar to what they do at Epcot, where they have food booths that you can walk up and go to. So I don't have the exact dates, but based on what your email said, that ends on the 8th. So I don't know if your plans are to just go to Disneyland or if you have a park hopper. I highly recommend the park hopper because it's so great to hop between those two parks. It's very easy. So I would say, like, try to make sure you go to DCA on whatever that last day is of the festival, because you'll find some great offerings there in California Adventure for the holidays.
Yep. And Tim here, he's tuned in with us as we record live on YouTube. Says got dining packages for Phantasmic, the Christmas Parade, and World of Color on my trip. Definitely worth it. I mean, we did this summer Main Street Electrical Parade dining package, and we got a prime spot for World of Color as well. And I mean, it made it so much nicer, right? I mean, it was just amazing to see those shows up close in those locations.
Yeah. So it's interesting because World of Color was offering like kind of like a virtual queue is what we ended up doing. We were going to do a dining package, and Pam might know better than I do right now because she was there recently. I don't know if they still offer that virtual queue for World of Color, but that is a nice alternative if you can't get the dining package, because they could sell out pretty quick. But sometimes too, if you go to a restaurant at California Adventure, even if you didn't book a dining package, ask, if they have any extras, because sometimes they might just be like, oh yeah, we're part of that too, and then they might give you like a different like prefix menu for you to try. But that's another option too, is the virtual queue.
Yeah, they were doing it, and it opened every day at noon when we were there. But you'll be able to look on the app if you download the app and make sure you check that. You'll be able to see the virtual queue, and they say right on there what time it opens up each day.
Did you guys notice on the Christmas morning special that they're really pushing Disneyland packages this year? It is like in the past, I've always noticed it's Walt Disney World and Cruise Line mostly, but this year I saw that they're really selling Disneyland, which I thought was, as a resort destination, which I think is very cool. I think that's kind of changed in marketing over the past year or so.
I think that everyone knows. I think even like I've been there many times, and each time I go, it is not a couple day destination for me because I want the time to be able to really immerse myself in that. And although Disneyland is smaller than the Magic Kingdom, it has way more attractions than the Magic Kingdom. So, and don't underestimate the value of those extra hours in the morning. You get so much done. Even there more than you do at Walt Disney World. Like you can bang out Fantasyland in the Disneyland park during that time and just hit all of those things, and it's fantastic. So
yeah. I think the secret's getting out finally to the hardcore Walt Disney World fan like me, right?
It's you, Mike. You're the one who started
exactly it, right? I mean, I'm exactly the poster child for that. Like I'm a Disney Parks fan, but I'm Walt Disney World. Like, give me Cruise Line, give me Walt Disney World, I'm good. Mm-hmm. But then I went to Disneyland. I'm like, oh, what was I missing for 15 years? Like this place is. I mean, everybody kept saying you got to go to Disneyland, man. It's awesome. I'm like, whatever. Oh man. Okay. Speaking of, we got one more question about Disneyland. Kim's in the live chat. Says, I don't have a lot of friends. Her family's 1,000 miles away. She's never been to Disneyland, but would love to make a trip next year. Being alone sounds amazing, so I can do whatever I want when I want, but I know it would save money to split a hotel. Let's see here. What do you suggest for a new visitor? I feel like I should have at least 2 days in each of the parks. I've also never been to California in general. How many days should I book as a first time? So again, we went for a week because that's kind of how we do vacations. We spent one day doing other stuff. Like we went to a Dodgers game and we did Mallory one to see Rodeo Drive. I hated that. Like I'm not a shopper. I'm not fancy. I felt like a fish out of water down there, but that, we went to Santa Monica Pier and looked at that. That was okay. I'd rather be at Disneyland. That was just me. But, you got to make sacrifices. The family went to Disneyland for a week for me, which, I mean, that's not a big sacrifice, but they were doing my thing. So I had to do some of the other stuff while we were in the neighborhood. But I don't know, Pam, what would you suggest for Kim? First timer going out there. I mean, I would say at least 2 days in the parks, maybe 4 days, 4-ish.
Yeah, I almost think, and here's what goes into my reasoning. First of all, I almost think 4 days at minimum, especially for your first time. And the reason why is there are so many nighttime shows and parades that you want to watch them all. Like at Disneyland Park, you have both Phantasmic and you have the fireworks. And remember, the fireworks are not always every night, and you really won't get that schedule until a few months before. So make sure you're going to be there over the weekend because you'll be sure to catch them then. But it's not usually easy to have a great location to see Phantasmic and then also to have a great location to see the fireworks at Disneyland. It just really isn't. So keep that in mind. You're also going to want to see World of Color too. So right there, that's 3 nights that you're going to be, sort of occupied with that. Think about that. And I think too, especially if it's not your home park, right? That you want to repeat things a few times. Yeah, you want to, they're just so cool. Yeah.
I did Alice in Wonderland. I'm like, oh, dude, gotta do that again. And like the Storybook Canal boats, they're so slow. Right? Those are awesome. Got to do it again.
So that's what happens. That's what comes up for those attractions that don't happen, that aren't at Walt Disney World. You're going to want to do those a few times. So that's why I say 4 days. I know that some people are like, well, that's too many days. And I don't know that that's possible. It really, truly, truly is not. So.
Tim says, spent 3 days at Disneyland and 2 days at California Adventure. He said, need more than 2 days. So that's kind of a good balance there. Scott, what'd you say for a hotel, though? I mean, because ideally we all want to stay like at the Disneyland Hotel. I mean, come on, we all want to stay at the Grand California, but that's not going to be in the budget for everybody.
Right.
Even, Pixar Pier or, Paradise Pier at this point, Pixar Pier soon. That might not even be in the budget for folks. You do have, the Good Neighbor hotels that are very nearby. So would you suggest those for a first time? Or what are your thoughts? Because you've done both.
It's tough. So like a first timer, like I just remember our first trip, like it was Disneyland Hotel. Like we love staying on site, but like it is expensive. Like we've done the Grand California before too. That's really expensive, but my goodness, that's like the best. That's my favorite Disney experience is going out to Anaheim and staying at the Grand Californian for like 6 nights. Like that's the best trip for me.
When we had breakfast over the Grand Californian, when I saw people doing yoga on boogie boards in the pool, I was like, oh, this place is so fancy. They're just so fancy. They don't even do yoga on land. They do yoga in the pool. Like it was the craziest thing I ever saw in my life. Go ahead.
But I've stayed at the Fairfield on Ocean. What is it? Harbor Boulevard. On Harbor Boulevard, I've stayed at the Fairfield there, and it's very nice. So like it's a Good Neighbor hotel. It's what is it, like a Marriott or a Hilton? I can't remember exactly what
Marriott, I think.
Yeah, it's a Marriott. Yep. But it's nice. And then you got like Disney artwork in there. And I've actually even seen like fireworks from that resort before. Like I've had a room where like you walked out and boom, like Space Mountain is like directly in sight of me. It's so awesome. And honestly, like those walks to the resort are not that bad. Like I think about where you stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, like you're basically taking the same amount of steps from some of those Good Neighbor hotels there on Harbor. You got a Panera that's right by. So what we would always do is we would mobile order like a Panera breakfast, grab it on our way to the park. We'd walk over, we'd eat it in line while we're waiting into the park. And that saves you a lot of money based on food cost right there alone. And then just generally saving for your hotel room. It is a really good value. I can't say much about the other Good Neighbors. Pam might be able to a little bit more, but because I've only stayed at the Fairfield, but I give it 2 thumbs up. It really gets the job done.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, hey, Kim, hopefully you got to get out there, Kim, because you're a huge Disney fan. I mean, you make the magic for everybody and have been doing that for such a long time at World. I mean, you'll just be jaw drop like me. When you walk into Fantasyland at Disneyland, it's unreal. Like it's hard to put into words. Like I just could not believe it. It was unreal. Okay. This is not a question, but I just want to close the show with this email because this is kind of why we do what we do and why we go to these places. And it's from Amy. She says, Mike, I don't have a question today. I submitted one a few months ago and you answered on your podcast. I told everybody to listen. I told somebody that it was my 15 minutes of fame. She says, we just finished up a trip to Disney World and my family went to the Christmas party on Friday. I was traveling with my husband, son, who is 15, and our foreign exchange student, a boy who was also 15. We went to the Tomorrowland dessert party, so we had VIP fireworks seating. During the fireworks, my 15-year-old son hugged me about halfway through the show. I wanted to cry, but of course played it cool, so the hug would last as long as he was willing to give it. This is why I love Disney, and this is part of the magic that they create. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and your family and all of your listeners, Amy. Pam, we get emails like this, pretty often because after guests get back at the Magic for Less, we send a kind of a post-trip survey to see like what went well, how can we help you in the future? What are we doing well? What can we improve upon? Just, we want to be the best we can be with every guest that we have. And we get stories like this quite often. And doesn't it, it warms your heart, right? A 15-year-old, like I'll have a 15-year-old next week. Scott, you have a 15, we have kids this age. And just, getting an acknowledgement that you're alive some days is a win. But to get a hug from your kid, especially a boy to a mom at that age, that's like winning the lottery. And
it is.
That makes you so happy.
It is true. Like there are some days where you're like, just like, it's a win that they're not annoyed that you're breathing and like walking around. Like truly, it's like, oh, my kid doesn't seem annoyed that I exist. That's a big win. So yeah, no, I was actually thinking about this, Christmas, I think this time of year, the holidays is always this time of natural reflection, right? Because you're in like you're grateful and there's so much going on that, is right there in front of you that you want to make sure you're embracing and taking all that in. And I was So it's just so cool to be, first of all, a part of the agency where we get to be a part of people's vacation planning experiences. There are so many memories that you have throughout your life, but I bet some of your memories, even from the time that you were a kid, are vacation related, right? Where those are the kind of core memories that really stick with you, of the planning, the doing, the having that time together. I mean, that's really important. And I also love being part of the podcast because we get to put some joy out into the world. And that's a real privilege in a time where it seems as if other kinds of media are really dedicated to sort of being divisive and being sensational. The fact that we just get on here and talk about something that we all love with people who want to hear it and also love it. I mean, that's just a really cool thing. So, I love that that's what people are getting from this.
It is. And Scott, I mean, we are lucky that our kids, all three of us have kids that will occasionally throw a hug our way, especially, but I mean, there is something to be said about a Disney destination kind of amping up the opportunity for that to happen, right? Like tonight, when I go upstairs after recording the shows, editing, and having my Taco Bell, chances of getting a hug tonight, probably pretty low on the scale. But I'm saying on the Disney Wish, maybe this summer after a show, the chances are higher. I mean, you
could be higher. The percentage is looking up.
But you know what? I've had this exact situation happen to me, kind of like the opposite, though. It's something about, like, especially with the fireworks shows, like you hear the music, it just like brings all this emotion to you, right? Like you connect to those songs. You're like, you've had this like great day, and you're wrapping up the night. You're seeing fireworks, explosions. You hear the music, and I remember the first time we took my in-laws. And I don't want, they're big huggy. Like I like to hug too, but like I don't like.
Was giving you all kinds of hugs.
No, my father-in-law, just watching him watch like Illuminations, Mike, like it kind of wrecked me. So I like kind of came from behind and gave him that pat on the shoulder, and he turned around and like hugged me like during Illuminations. Like, dude, like it was a cool moment, man.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of what I thought when I heard this story. It doesn't have to be the 15-year-old doing the hug. It could be the 60-year-old guy doing the hug, man. It's just, it's a really cool moment. I don't know how Disney does it. It's just part of that extra magic they deliver, right? And I love that you shared that story with us, Mike. That's a great one.
I love it. Thanks, Amy, for sharing that with us, because that is exactly it. I mean, we are a hugging bunch. So be ready at Marathon Weekend, man, because I'm telling you what, surviving a race, it's easy to throw some hugs all over the place. Be ready. We're going to be hugging. Anyway, so just call us Lotso, Hugging Bears. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thanks for being with us. If you have a question, we want to get it in the queue. Just drop it in right now, Mike at beourguestpodcast.com. Put listener question in the header there. We'll drop it right in the folder to get on a future show. You can also join us most Mondays around 5:30 Eastern when we record. So come on over to Facebook and YouTube, and you can be a part of the show that way. Thanks to Eric and Kim and Ren and Tim and everybody who's been in the chat with us today. It's been great having you here. And of course, our sponsor is always the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan a great Disneyland, Walt Disney World, cruise line, or Adventures by Disney trip. We're there to help you make that trip as magical as possible. We cannot guarantee teenagers will throw hugs, but we'll do what we can. You know what? We try. Teenagers are a crazy bunch, but we do what we can. So just swing by themagicforless.com today. Fill out that quote form, mention the show. We'll be planning a great trip together. The best part is, this has been a very expensive time of the year, right? I mean, it's like we just had a great Christmas, probably Hanukkah. The bills are coming in. We don't charge you anything extra. No cost to you. Where are you going to get that anywhere else, right? Hey, we're here to help you out. So check them out today over at themagicforless.com. Also, please use our Amazon affiliate link. It costs you nothing extra as well, and it supports everything we do here on the show throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a sincere thank you to the patrons of the show. You allow us to put these shows out 3, 4, 5 times a week sometimes. We appreciate that so very much. And our patrons get that bonus show called Mike in the Midwest. If you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. Come on over, patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give Pam a follow on the social media. She's at TMFLT Pam. Scott's at Epscott, EPSCOT. I'm at Be Our Guest Mike. We'd all love to talk to you this week, and we're getting ready to go down to Walt Disney World 1 week from today. So it's a good time to give us a follow, because you're going to see pub subs. You're going to see the agony of defeat in the thrill of victory, as they used to say on Wide World of Sports, everything in between, early mornings on parking lots at Epcot, finish line photos, hopefully, medals and plenty of times on rides, at resorts, at restaurants. We're going to show it all. So give us a follow on the social media. And again, no live shows this week or next week because of New Year's Eve and because of Marathon Weekend. All right, we're going to be back again on Friday. We have a great show idea for you to kind of close out the year. We're going to talk about some of the most unique things we think we've done at a Disney destination that we think the fewer people have done than anybody else. I'm going to talk about a place I went to called the Big Bamboo. Doesn't even exist anymore. And I spent 15 minutes today on the internet just trying to find if I actually went there because it was so weird that I'm like, did I dream this? But it was real. And I did go there, and I'm going to talk about it on Friday's show. Pam's done some really cool stuff because of the agency as well. We're going to talk about going into Walt's apartment. It's going to be a fun show. So we're just going to have some fun. It's the holiday week. So hang with us. If you're on the treadmill, if you're walking the dog, if you're doing the dishes or taking down the tree, whatever it is, we can't wait to talk to you on Friday. So for Scott and Pam, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Wednesday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Oh no, what just happened? Oh, whew. Okay, good.
Pam, do you remember when Mike said this is going to be a really quick episode?
The other
Famous last words.
You get talking, man.
I know. It's fun, Mike. It's fun to record. It was just funny because I know, like, when you say that, like, okay, it's still going to be like 45 to an hour.
Yeah, that was 50. That was too long.
Elizabeth always asks, like, how long are you guys going to record? So I know. And then I'll tell her, she's like, okay, I'm going to add 30 minutes to that.
She's smart. That's good. She's genius. 2214. EDITD. Don't have to edit anything out because Ricky, and that, also on that Christmas Eve show, Ricky was like, ding dong, because she kept hanging up and calling back in.
Oh.
Remember? Because like she disconnected.
And it was her microphone, like, yeah. Because then she ended up being like, she thought she was on mute or she wasn't on mute. There's all sorts of stuff.
Yes, Kim, we're going to say happy birthday. And I do have the shoes and they're going to go on the shelf behind me, but once I redecorate after Christmas, I'm going to start rotating through some stuff. I can't wait. I can finally show stuff.
I want to go to Disneyland now. Again.
Oh, dude, me too.
Right? I was just talking about that.
It's so bad right now. I know it's killing.
The Grand Floridian, not the Grand Floridian, the Grand California like pool area is like one of my favorite places to just lounge and chill and hang out.
I know we've gotten a cabana there before.
Really?
And I will tell you, it was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Not a
their
bad
lounge
thing.
chairs. They're like thicker cushions or something too. Like
they are 100% thicker cushions.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they were doing that yoga in that pool, dude, that was the craziest thing.
Mike was so obsessed with that.
They were doing yoga, like balancing on boogie boards. Like, you know how hard that is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, that's nearly impossible.
You know, I think I had a breakfast old fashioned there too when we had breakfast.
I think you might have.
I think I did. Yeah.
Paige says I won't like it, like because we were going to Christmas Eve services, and I was talking about that because we were listening to the show.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You aren't gonna like an old fashioned." I'm like,
"Well, it is. I mean, it is bourbon."
Yeah.
She said, "You need something margarita."
It is like an acquired taste.
It is.
Though.
But then here's what my wife said. She's like, he'll probably like it because he likes weird stuff because he drinks tequila straight. Like he won't drink a beer, but he'll drink straight tequila.
That is kind of different, though. Like, but beer to me is like an acquired taste too. Like I did not like beer at first.
Beer stinks. Beer,
especially an IPA.
And now I just love IPAs.
Yeah, right? I know. But I always say there's not a beer that I actually don't like. Like I like a stout. I like an IPA.
Yeah.
I've been known to drink a BL Lime.
Oh yeah, you have.
I know.
That's the only kind of beer in St. Louis. Man, it's the only kind of beer is Bud Light.
See, that I can't do though.
No, I can't drink a straight Bud Light. I can drink a BL Lime when it's really hot out.
BL Lime is a good summer house beer.
Bush.
Because summer should be fun.
Oh my!
All right, let's do this because Pam's got to go see her friend. Here we go. 20.
I do. Yes, I do.
Pam's got to go get a Bud Light line.
He's gonna go have a bush.
No, I can guarantee I am not going to do that. If you ever see me drinking that, you will know something bad has happened.
Commercials were just the best back in the day when I was getting Bush. Like how they did that on the commercial. Bush.
But shout out to Moose, man. Moose can drink those natty lights in Bush. I don't know how he does it, but
Dude,
The Medalla Light.
yeah, I don't
yes.
think there's a drink that Bush. The Moose couldn't drink. That dude, he is amazing. Anyway,
All right, let's talk about what we've done.
here we go. Okay.
Cool stuff. I was making a little list before.
Good. Check it
Ooh.
twice. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to episode 2215 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Friday to you and Happy New Year, because we're almost to the end of 2022 and moving into 2023. We have the Orange Bowl tonight, Tennessee and Clemson. I know we got a lot of folks on both sides of that one out there on the podcast family. There's going to be a lot of orange down in South Florida tonight. And then, of course, we have the college football playoff tomorrow. Happy birthday to Kim Taylor, our good friend down taking pictures a lot of the time in Epcot. And also a happy early birthday to my daughter, Mallory, who will be, holy cow, she'll be 15 come Monday, because I already recorded the Monday podcast and totally forgot to wish her happy birthday on that one. So I'm covering my butt right here. So we're good. Happy birthday, Mallory. I can't believe she's 15. That means the podcast will be 15 shortly too. So holy cow, we've been doing this for quite a while. But we're going to have a good time wrapping up the year here on the show. Of course, we're moving into 2023 next week. And joining me today for the last show of the year, it's your friend of mine, hashtag Scotty G. Scott, this time next week, we'll be running not 1K, not 2K, but all 10 of the Ks on Friday. You ready to run 6.2?
I'm ready for it, but I'm more so ready to win the inaugural BOGP Mini Golf Open. That's what
true.
I'm really focusing
That is
on.
more important. That is true.
Yeah.
You bust out your putter.
Yeah, like I'm actually going to go to like an indoor putting facility so I can practice some putts this weekend because I have to be ready for that major event. But yeah, happy birthday to everyone. We got some birthdays coming up, Mallory and Kim, but I got to just take a minute because I know we talk about football a lot in here. I won't go too long, but I am in a tough situation on New Year's Eve. My arch enemy, the worst college football team in America, in my opinion, is playing in a pretty big game, so I had to root for them. But then my second ultimate team that I don't like is also playing, but it's just tough, Mike, because like I feel like I had to root for Ohio State because I feel like I need them to get revenge against Michigan. You
never
like,
have to root for Ohio State.
But I do, because I'm a Big Ten guy, but I can't root for Michigan. So I'm in a tough situation, but I have my good friend Georgia. Like I want Georgia to win because of that. So I think it's gonna be a win-win for me a little bit on that game, but I need Ohio State to win it all. I need the Big Ten to win the championship this year.
Stop.
It's got to be Ohio State.
Stop. You just need to roll with me, TCU and Georgia all the way. Make New Year's Eve.
I can't let the Big Ten go 0-2. That can't happen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Scott and I disagree on very few things, but this is one of them. SEC, baby. Oh man. Anyway, we're gonna have a good time. Yeah, Pam's like, "What are we doing New Year's Eve?" Like, what do you mean? The football game's on. That's all. That's what matters. Georgia's playing. It's college football playoff. Anyway, joining us, we also have the coder, the Magic for Less Travel, Pam Forrest. Pam, happy New Year. Any big plans for New Year's Eve?
We're just
Playing
Forrester craziness as per usual. So.
You're putting the snowman back out, anchoring him down a little tighter.
Yes, hoping he makes it through this season. Or Steve will be devastated. No, he's going to go out soon again. So yes,
nice. You should go to Home Depot. I'm telling you, man, you got to get that skeleton for next season. That thing, I'm telling you, man, I can't stop thinking about that because you can just put clothes on him and he could be, there could be Cupid here soon out in the yard, 12-foot Cupid.
No, not going to happen. Not gonna happen.
Anyway, all right, well, let's talk about, I was thinking about this because my wife is actually, because we listened to the Christmas Eve show as we drive to my in-laws, and so that's like the one show we listen, the podcast that we listen to every year as a family, and they got a kick out of it. They got a kick out of that Ricky kept hanging up on us and kept calling back in. Because if you heard ding dong, he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, Ricky was having issues. Her dog stepped on the computer or something." And so I apologize for all that. You guys had to hear it too. So I had to explain all that to my wife. She's like, "You didn't edit that out?" I'm like, "Oh, it was really hard to because Ricky kept hanging up on us." So anyway, she was asking though because Pam was just out at Disneyland and was posting all these cool pictures on social media. In one picture that she's asked me about 3 or 4 different times, and so I'm like, I'm putting this on the show because I kind of want to know too. Pam, you've done some super cool stuff in your Disney history because of the travel agency, because Disney has asked you to do, give feedback for stuff because you work with so many guests. And because of that, when Disney gets you guys all together, you do some pretty remarkable experiences. But the one that my wife really wants to kind of hear a little bit about, and I thought our listeners would love to hear about this too, because I probably will never get to do this, but I would love to. You got to go into Walt's apartment a couple weeks ago. And my wife was just like, what was it like? I'm like, I don't know. You're friends with Pam, call her, text her. I don't know. Send her a message on Facebook. I don't know. But so she wants to know. So we're going to talk about just like some unique stuff that we've gotten to do, not to be like braggy, but just to kind of talk about, just like what was it like, just so that other people might know. Cause I'm going to talk about a weird thing. It's not braggy at all. I'm surprised I got out alive. It was just weird. But yours was just super cool as a Disney fan. So talk to us about going to Walt's apartment, because you've actually done this twice. And I think that's like the ultimate for a Disney.
It is. So we had the opportunity to do some cool things. There was a conference out in Disneyland, and I sit on a travel agent advisory board for Disney, and they took our small group that is also in this advisory board. And one morning we went into Walt's apartment, and I had done it before because there is a tour at Disneyland that does include time at in Walt's apartment. But they take you up there. For those of you who don't know, it's above the firehouse, and they always have a light on. And during the holiday season, they actually have a little Christmas tree in the window, and they move his lamp over. But anyways, the cast members that are in charge of taking you up to this place are ones that really sort of recognize that this is sort of hallowed ground for so many of us, right? That Walt and his wife lived there for a while. It is a very small location for those who don't know. I mean, it's just small. You can see by looking up there. It really consists of a living room / bedroom area, a kitchenette, and a bathroom area. And that's always shocking to me, and very cool in some ways. That what was the most important for Walt was that he was there and they could look out over the park, right? That he got to spend time there, that he was there in the morning, he could walk out and do that. So that's something I think that is really cool. It's this I posted a picture of me actually in the apartment. They'll take one picture and they take it for you. I mean, there are very strict rules about things. You're not allowed to take a bunch of pictures while you're in there. You're allowed to take one with you in the photo. You can look around. It's just when you're there, you just are sort of, it almost doesn't feel real, right? That you're there. But I really, really enjoyed the time that I had the chance to spend there. The other thing is that I think is really interesting is there is sort of a maxed out shower in Walt's apartment, like one of those showers that has many shower heads, right? And apparently this was important to Walt, that he wanted them.
So that was there when Walt was there? I mean, I wouldn't even
yes.
that was
How innovative is that?
I know, right? It was. I guess those aches and pains, man, it really helps deal with that. But yes, there was. So but yeah, there are tours. There is a tour where you get time up in Walt's apartment. You can make reservations for that tour 60 days in advance.
So I'd imagine though, you guys, had a pretty, typically when you guys get to go to those things, you have somebody who is a VIP of the VIP tour guides that are pretty experienced, kind of the best of the best. Did this person have any stories? And you said they kind of see it as hallowed ground. Do they, I mean, I would imagine what I noticed just in general at Disneyland is that the cast members were very, even more than Walt Disney World. And there's great cast members at Walt Disney World. Don't get me wrong, man. That's why I fell in love with Walt Disney World well before I ever went to Disneyland, is the cast members sold me on this place is amazing. But they just felt like protective of the place. I felt at Disneyland, like, this is my place, man. And I'm going to show you magic like you've never seen before. But I'd imagine if you're somebody who is entrusted to let folks in and follow these specific protocols to go into Walt's apartment, these have to be cast members who've been there for quite a while and have stories. I mean, is that what you had, or no?
They do. This is someone who had been at Disneyland for a while. And she did have, some things to share. She allowed us to ask questions, which I think is really interesting. I think that there is just a shock when you see it, that it's basically a small living room and this kitchenette area with a few appliances, that I think that those are the things that people are most interested in. It's very true to that era. There are like these burgundy red couches that pulled out like a trundle for the beds. I mean, that's where they, slept for those things. And she was just they always sort of communicate the story that the light's always on to sort of honor Walt. And I think that that's a cool thing, that even if you don't have the opportunity to go into the apartment, that you can see that from the ground there, that's always going to be there. And I just wanted to say that it used to be called the Walk in Walt's Footsteps tour, but now it's called Walt's Main Street Story tour, is the one that takes you into Walt's apartment. There also is an outdoor space there as well, which is a beautiful area where Walt did entertain from time to time. So that's something really unique too.
Okay, one last thing though before we move on. Are there any artifacts like books or journals or anything in there that they kept, or are they like taking those off to like the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco, or the Smithsonian, places like that?
Yeah, I think most of that stuff has been moved out from that location. They really didn't have that there, but I think it was just kind of cool to see
environment, I guess.
Yes, yeah, it really is.
Like I was, like I'm looking at the same, like the view I'm seeing today is the view Walt saw in like 59. I mean, of course it's changed over time, but I'm looking out that same window. That'd be, that would just, that kind of stuff just makes me like, wow, it's just, like I'm saying, on the same floor.
The outside area like kind of fascinates me, where you said that he would do like entertain. Could you imagine like just getting some invite and you say, hey, guess what we're doing this weekend? We're going to go to Walt's apartment at Disneyland and he's going to host us.
Right.
How awesome would that be?
I know. I can't even imagine what that would be like as someone who had the opportunity to do that. I mean, did people then like know and appreciate it when it was happening? I don't know. I mean, that's the kind of thing.
They might not have, but I mean, the whole time I didn't go in the apartment, but I mean, I just remember feeling that every time I walked around Disneyland Park, right? I was just like, man, where I'm standing right now, Walt Disney himself could have been, he could have leaned on this tree, or he could have, I could be walking in, literally in Walt's footsteps up Main Street, like as I was going to the, the Gibson Girl to get an ice cream. Like,
well, yeah. And one of the things that was really cool was there is a phone there, and there's this little tiny ledge where she told us that Walt sat there and took all of his calls there when he was there at the apartment. It would be like, we all work from home now. Right. He worked from home at that point, right? And sat on this little ledge to take calls throughout the day. I thought to myself, wow, like we're all like, I need an ergonomic chair and I need whatever. Walt was like hanging out on a little ledge at the end of a sofa taking phone calls. So.
Yeah, and I doubt anybody's ever going to care that I take calls right in the seat right here in this Mizzou Gold bedroom in the downstairs of Weldon Spring, Missouri. Nobody cares ever. Nobody's going.
He's taking calls on that ledge, like negotiating the land for Walt Disney World.
Right? Yes.
He's like,
yes.
We can't call it Disney. It's the Taquito company. Whatever.
Exactly.
Okay. So Scott, let me ask you though. Okay, so we're going to talk about. I mean, obviously, we don't get to do such cool stuff all the time,
right?
But like, what's something you think you've done that's pretty unique that you think few might have experienced when it comes to Disney?
I was trying to think about it. So like, I've just been fortunate. It's like right place, right time, right? For me, like I don't get like these cool invitations or anything, but One of my favorite cool memories that not too many people got to do was the DVC 25 celebration. So it was in February 2016. I happened to be on site because it was like right after Princess Weekend, and it was like the 25th anniversary of DVC. So it was like kind of like one of those after hour party events, if you can try to picture it, but it wasn't like fully capacity. It wasn't anything near like a Halloween or a Christmas party. It was like half of that. So pretty comfortable night. But they did a one-time fireworks show for DVC 25, and I was like smack in the middle, like over by the partner statue. I got like a great angle, the video, the whole thing, like you hardly see anyone in it. And I went live with it. And I remember, Mike, you said the same thing I thought. Like, I thought that was going to be Wish's replacement right there.
I believe that was 7 years ago. Like, that is,
right.
I can't believe that, dude.
I know.
Cow.
Hard to believe, right? But yeah, so like, I just thought that was kind of cool. Like, I got to see this one-time special fireworks show. I really thought it was going to be like the happily ever after, or whatever it was going to replace Wishes. I've watched that video again. It's definitely not, but it was super cool and just a cool experience. Like, it kind of felt. You remember like it was like 2013, I think, where they did that limited time magic. Remember, like every week there was like this new thing where like special characters would pop up or whatever. It was almost like all of that combined into one party because they had like all these hard to find characters that were like throughout the park for meet and greets. It was a super cool event. Again, like I wasn't like the only one there. I mean, there was a lot of people still there, but it was very limited. And I just thought that was like a cool one-time thing that I got to do.
Isn't it weird though that Disney, because I've thought about that, right? That was because you showed me that. I've seen the video you showed me that night, and that fireworks show was outstanding. But it just seems like, as far as the man hours you put into something like that, and just the creative energy to create a show like that, you couldn't just do it once. And I know they do corporate events sometimes, like where they close off the park.
Right.
Maybe they use it again for stuff like that. But I would think you'd have to, like, if you're going to make a fireworks show, like it's got to be something you're doing for like, hundreds of times.
Yeah, but it could be a test, right? Because I think around that time, as they were testing a new show, like they knew Wishes was there was gonna be something replacing it. So they could have been like, all right, well, this night we're gonna try XYZ fireworks show and see what the reaction is like. Because then they might have did it at like a corporate event. Because I've heard of that too, right? Like corporate events might have like a different display of fireworks. So it could have just been part of their testing phase. And I was just glad I got to see one of them, man, because it was awesome.
It was unreal. Like, give me that show anytime.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what kind of tease us on Wednesday's show. So when I was working at Space Camp, so for a couple of summers, like I went to Space Camp as a teacher. I got invited down just to go through a professional development for a week in the summer of 2001. Boeing sent some teachers down and I got to go on a scholarship. And then I loved it so much, I went back as an instructor in the summer of 2002 and 2003. And so if you go, and I think it's still the case, that over the summer, Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama hires about 20 to 25 full-time teachers in all disciplines to teach other teachers in their education department. So like I was there from St. Louis, we had teachers from Arizona, California, Texas, Alabama, all over the country came down, and we stayed at the University of Alabama, Huntsville, which is across the street from Space Camp. We didn't stay in the Habs, which would have been cool. If you ever saw the Space Camp movie, I wanted to stay in the Habs, but no, that's where the kids stay. That was the super cool stuff, like the big tubes. I was like,
so this isn't like the haves and have-nots, like in Big Brother?
Oh, Habs, HAB, like the habitat.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I thought you were saying halves. Okay.
No, Habs with the B. But it was like, because I got there, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, dude, we'd stay in the cool place. No, like, dude, you get to stay across the street at the college, at the university. I was like, oh, but it was cool anyway, because I never went away to school, so I thought it was awesome. Anyway, so we're there, and we have the teachers from all over the world, right, or all over the country, and we're we go through like an intense week. The first week we're there, they teach us everything we have to teach the teachers for the rest of the summer, right? And at the end of the first week, we have to take this like 400 question test. And you have to pass it with like a 95% proficiency to be able to stay on as an instructor. And like, you have to do all these, you got to build this stuff, and you got to, mock train, do all these things, because you got to teach the simulators, like the fake shuttle missions. I mean, it was intense, but I love space. I was like a kid in a candy store. It was like going to Space Camp, but on steroids. So I do the whole thing, the train. Anyway, long story short, kind of. A couple of the people that were the fellow teachers for this program a couple of summers, they were also seasonal Disney employees, right? So they They had been college program, as they were younger before they became teachers, and they stayed on as seasonal cast members to keep like their benefits. And so the 1 week of the summer that Space Camp was closed because nobody would come down is the week of the 4th of July, because no teachers are going to come over the 4th of July for professional development. So we were all off on the 4th of July. And we were like, people were, like I said, from California, Texas, Arizona, Illinois, Missouri. So we were just like, we decided like, towards the end of June, like we should just all go to Walt Disney World for the 4th of July. All of us together would be fun. So we all decided to drive to Walt Disney World. And we had a couple of the people there were cast, like they were former college program people. They knew all the ins and outs, and they had the hookups, man. They knew people that were still, pretty high up cast members. So we got tickets. I remember that I got to sit like for Spectral Magic one night. We got seats, like VIP seats. Like if you walk from the castle into Liberty Square, on the left, there's like a little alcove at that bridge where there's like a bench. We had that bench to ourselves. Like every character like waved at us, and like we were some royalty or something. I mean, we got to hook up there. But here's the thing I want to talk about that I'm just saying this because I wonder if anybody, because we have thousands and thousands of listeners, and I still think nobody will know what I'm talking about, because I literally spent 15 minutes today looking on the internet before I could find that this place actually did exist. So one night, and this was killing me because I only wanted to be in the parks. Like I was just getting into Disney, and I'm like, okay, we're going. And we didn't stay in any Disney hotel. We stayed with like friends and apartments and stuff. And I was like, oh, this stinks. Like, I just want to be at Walt Disney World the whole time. And they're catching up with their friends and stuff. So they're like, no, you got to go we're going to this place, and it's the most cool place. So I'm thinking, oh, it's at Walt Disney World. Nope, it's not. It was a cast member hangout. And I looked it up. It was called the Big Bamboo. And it was a tiki bar, like lounge little hut thing. And it was in this lot. It was next to a strip mall in Kissimmee. And so when you went in, I think you had to have a cast member with you to get in because it was super small, kind of exclusive. And it was built in the 60s. And it was decorated. The entire walls all the way around were cast member badges and artifacts. And I remember by the restroom, there were test track seats. I don't know how they got there, but there were. Super small, no food. You couldn't get food. You could get drinks though. That was it. You could order pizza from like Domino's. They'd bring it in. That was totally cool. They had like bags of chips you could buy. That was the extent of the food. Like you could buy like Cheetos and Doritos and stuff. That was it. But it was just dark and shady as anything. But this is where cast members hung. And I mean, it was like the coolest thing, but it was, I seriously, I thought about this the other day and I'm like, was that a fever dream that I went to this place that was next to a strip mall called the Big Bamboo? And I mean, it only held like 20, 25 people. And I think you had to have a cast member to get in. Like, I think you couldn't get in if like you weren't with a cast member or were a cast member. But it was like the coolest thing because it was like, this was like the side. And we also went to Pleasure Island on like cast member night. I think it was Tuesday night or whatever, industry night or something. That was wild. But it was like, I've never seen that side of Walt Disney World because I've never been a cast member. But I'm telling you what, look it up. The Big Bamboo. It was so weird, but it was cool. And then we also went to, I think, the Ale House on like cast member night, and that was a lot of fun too. But it was just cool to see things from a cast member side as a Disney fan. It was very different than you see cast members on Main Street USA. But it was cool. This place apparently got knocked down by Hurricane Ivan and never reopened after 2004. It got damaged heavily. They never reopened. And then the whole thing burned down in 2005. So it's not there anymore. The lot sold and everything. But I just want to know if anybody ever went to the Big Bamboo in Kissimmee, because it was the craziest. It was super themed though, because it was cast members that were Disney cast members that are, we're all into theming. And so it was super duper themed in there. But it was so weird. It was so weird. It was so Disney and so not at the same time.
It almost feels like the Big Bamboo was like inspiration for Trader Sam's.
It was like a dirty Trader Sam's, but without animatronics, with real crazy people, like really drunk people. Like it was, because I didn't drink at the time. It was weird. But I mean, I wonder if anybody else has ever been there. So the Big Bamboo in Kissimmee with a bunch of cast members. It was bizarre. All right, Pam, bring us back on to track, because I just wonder if anybody's been to the Big Bamboo.
I love that. So At different times, like we've talked about, I do have the privilege of going to some of these events, and I've seen some awesome people over the years. Art Linkletter spoke to us once. Marty Sklar spoke to us before. We've had other Imagineers over the years speak to us. It's just a really cool thing. But I will say there are two things that really rank as some of my highlights, and both of them involve folks that have sang really for Disney, have written music and whatnot. One of them was seeing one of the Sherman brothers, and of course he played "Feed the Birds." That was Walt's, favorite song, and that was one of those moments that was really, you're sitting there and you're like, I cannot believe this is happening. Really and truly, you just can't. And he played other songs as well. But that was just, that was really, really cool. And another experience was we saw Dick Van Dyke and got to sing "Let's Go Fly a Kite" with Dick Van Dyke.
Oh.
And just, right? I know. So just, it's those kind of things. And I think it's just they're such cool memories because you have, first of all, such a big connection with the songs, right? That the Sherman brothers shaped so many of the Disney movies. I can't even imagine what those movies would be like without those fantastic songs that are just such a part of the movie. I don't know. You would think that the movie wouldn't have been as successful. It just would not have. Those movies shaped so much of that experience. And that, and with Dick Van Dyke and "Let's Go Fly a Kite," that's a big part of the movie and just one of my favorite movies ever. So those are like, pinch me experiences. And I know that's not something that everyone can duplicate at this point. I was just so fortunate to have the opportunity to do that, but just ranks up there in some of my major Disney memories. So.
But what I like though is that, I think with D23, they're trying to give that experience to, some of the more, diehard Disney fans, because they have had some pretty, headliner experiences for, the ones that are willing to wait it out or have the exclusive tickets, stuff like that. But like, just think about that. You have that Walt connection, with both of those guests, people that you got to see there.
Yes.
It's just like you can't. I got excited when I've been to a couple of media events because of the show, and like Samantha Brown came out on stage. That's
right.
Comparison, but I was like, that's Samantha Brown from the Travel Channel. Like,
right?
It's so cool, just because she has a passion for travel, and I love that, because that's something that I have, and I just
yes, and Disney. She loves Disney too.
Totally so.
That's what guests of the Magic Less do when they see you two in the parks. They're like, oh my God, it's Pam and Mike.
Get out of the way. Look out. Taco Bell. So Scott, what's another thing though you've done that's kind of, because that DVC event, that would have been epic because like you said, not big crowds and a cool fireworks show.
That was and there's like all those special characters. It almost felt like that was like a test for like the after hour events, because that was like they were giving like free, like I have a photo of me with like 6 Mickey bars in my hands because they were just trying to get rid of them. Like, what am I going to do with this? It's like 80 degrees. Like, like I can't like hold on to them and take them back to the resort, Like it was a wild night. But I may have told this one before, but I'll tell it again, like real quick. So this is way before like Beacons of Magic, with like where they would do the cool projections on Spaceship Earth. So it was one night, I think it was like April 2013 or something like that. I just remember I was at Tepanetto. Okay, is it Tepanetto or Tepanetto? Like, I don't know what to call it.
I call it.
I always say Teppan.
I always say Teppan.
Yeah, but so maybe we're all wrong though.
Maybe, who knows? I'm at the hibachi place in Japan. How about that?
There you go. Yes, that's a safer bet. Yes.
And I just never forget, like, because you get like the communal seating, whatever. And there's this guy that he was a big New York Jets fan, and it was the night of the NFL draft. And like he knew I was a Lions fan, and we were like separated. Like he was on one end of the table, I was on another. Like we ended up switching seats because he wanted me to really watch the draft with him on his phone. Like, and like it wasn't even that deep to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to have a nice meal with my family, but sure, like let's see how the draft is going. So him and I like are like talking all night. We end up going like super long. Like we end up closing the place. We leave the restaurant and it's like 9:45. Like the park's been closed for like 45 minutes, and we're way back there. So like we start our stroll. We're still kind of taking our time because like World Showcase at night empty is
Awesome.
like the coolest thing,
Yes.
right? Like you don't want to rush through there. So we're like slowly taking our time, taking photos and all that. So we get up to the front. It's probably like well past 10 now. Like, I don't know, 10:15, 10:30, because we were really taking our time. But there's all these like people like gathering like near the front, like where they had the tombstones or whatever you want to call them, like like when you would walk in, like the I can't remember what
monoliths, I think they call
yes.
them.
Right. So we're just, and I'm like looking like, why are all these people hanging out here? And then there's like, it looks like there's some like execs off to the side, like they're like having this interview, and then boom, all of a sudden, like Mike Wazowski is like on Spaceship Earth projected. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is awesome. So I like quick get the camera out, like I'm trying to capture all these photos. Like Sully was on there too, like doing this like crazy roar. It was like this promo for like a monstrous summer or whatever the promotion was going to be for like packages or whatever that year with Cruise Line, Disneyland, Walt Disney World, or whatever. But they were using the Monsters Inc. characters projected on Spaceship Earth to kind of like promote the start of it. And it was like, talk about being at the right place at the right time. Like it was so cool because like they hadn't done projections like that on Spaceship Earth before. And it was just, and they were like animated too. Like I just remember like Mike Wazowski was like singing and doing all this like talking or like telling some jokes or whatever, and like just moving all around Spaceship Earth. I was like, this is so cool. Like why is this happening? And then yeah, it's just a cool moment. Then we like ended up leaving, but you could like still see it from the parking lot. I remember taking all these photos in the parking lot because it stayed on there like for another hour after like the media thing that happened or the promo. But I just thought that was super cool. It was well before anything. Like it just kind of proved like, man, you can put anything on Spaceship Earth. Like, why don't they do that more often? And it's kind of cool because we're kind of starting to see that now with like Beacons of Magic and such.
Yeah, and that was really before projection mapping was as prevalent. Like now,
Yeah.
like if you throw something on on a building, it's like, oh well, they do that all the time. But I mean, that
Right.
was like the very beginning of it. Yeah,
Mhm.
super cool. Okay, I got just a quick one. Now this is Cruise Line, and I've told the story before, but it was remarkable. We just happened to be on a cruise with the late Stuart Scott from ESPN, and he was such a cool dude. Like I because back then they were kind of, this was on the Magic, so this was before the Dream and this is well before the Dream and the Fantasy. I think the Wonder maybe had just launched, but it was on the Magic. It was one of the very first years of the cruise line, and if you recall, the ships actually the classic ships used to have like a radio station on them. I think it was in the forward funnel. It said you could look at it and see it. There was a full on radio station set up like a studio booth there where they could do radio shows, and it was for ESPN to because of the tie-in with the company. And I think he was doing like promotional stuff on the cruise or something, and he was there with his wife. And I just remember like he did like a talk. I guess he probably got a cruise in exchange for this. One day he talked, did a thing down in the lounge, and I went to it, just talked about kind of his career and stuff. And again, he wasn't super well known at this time. ESPN didn't have the reach. This was probably in like maybe like the late 90s, maybe like 2000, if that. God, I'm trying to put a year on it. Probably 98, 99, maybe 2000. But the whole gist of the story was he did a talk. It was very inspirational. He was very humble from his humble beginnings, just talking about how education is super important. I told him that I was a teacher, and I was like, I don't have anything to sign, but I was like, I teach in Ferguson, Missouri. Like you're such a role model for my students. Like they can see you doing the sports at night, and hopefully my students will see that could be them in 20 years, 30 years, not just be the athlete. Because every kid in my class, like, and I think this is true of a lot of kids, like every kid in my class thought they were going to be, Steph Curry, and I always told them that's great to have that dream, but you're probably only going to be 5'4", like, so let's have a backup plan. You can be Steph Curry, but how about education too? So that you can, know what to do with your billions when you become a great NBA player. But also, if you don't, you could also be a broadcaster. You could be a lawyer, or you could be a teacher, or you could be, a chemist, or whatever you want to do. But let's talk education too. And Stuart Scott really, brought that home. And I, when I saw him, I told him, I'm like, man, you are just like, you're cool. Like you make sports broadcasting fun and cool. Because even back then, they were making those commercials that were just hilarious. ESPN had the best commercials back in those times. I mean, they were just, when you see them today, they still air them every once in a while. They're the funniest things ever. And I'm like, I just hope that my kids see you and that they see themselves, like maybe in 20 years, they're sitting in Bristol doing a broadcast, or even not there, maybe in St. Louis, they're a local sports broadcaster, because they can do that. And you inspire them. And he's like, here, he grabbed a piece of stationery from Disney. It was Disney Cruise Line stationery, because I still have it. I got it laminated, and it hung on the wall in my classroom. And he just said, kids, your teacher is not your babysitter. Listen to him. He's here to teach you, and this is your future. Stuart Scott, ESPN. And I just said, thank you, because it was so cool to have that opportunity to talk to Stuart Scott. And he became bigger and bigger as the years went on. I mean, he became a legend. And it's a shame that he passed away at such an early age. But I mean, I still look to him. He's one of my heroes. He's such a great guy. But I did remember one night we spent in the adult area singing karaoke. And in this certain kind of karaoke, you had to take a shot every time you sang a song. He was toast. And his wife was so embarrassed. His wife was trying to drag him off the stage, and he kept singing that song, All For You by Sister Hazel.
Yes.
And it just kept getting worse and worse. And it was the funniest thing ever. But yeah, I just, the cruise I got to go on with Stuart Scott, I'll never forget. It was awesome. He was the greatest guy.
Yep.
And I miss him so much. And it was
Yeah.
just one of those things, right place, right time. I had no idea I was on that cruise with him until I saw him.
No, that's so awesome. I remember Stuart Scott, man. He was so great, but you kept describing him as cool. And I had to double check, because like he always said, you're cool, like the other side of the pillow. And that is his catchphrase. Like, like I don't know if he's the one who invented it, but he made it popular for sure. So like, I like your use of that, because man, he was cool like the other side of the pillow.
Oh, absolutely, man. He was amazing. All right, Pam, give us one last story, and then we're gonna wrap up and call it a weekend.
Okay. So this is another sort of cool location in the parks, and it is that castle suite that is at the Magic Kingdom. There is actually a suite out there where certain people get to stay. It was Year of a Million Dreams, right, where someone got to be in that suite every night during that whole celebration. And I had the chance to tour it a couple times. I've been up there a couple times, and it is really a very cool location. First of all, there is this gorgeous glass slipper up there that's sort of in a case as you get off the elevator that goes into that area. The entrance is actually as you're going through the tunnel of the castle. Well, not the tunnel, but the archway of the castle. You go through there, and it's one of those doors there. You walk in, and there's an elevator that takes you up. It is done in the whole suite is really done in this very regal feeling decor. It is absolutely what you would sort of expect to see, sort of tapestries on the walls, on the beds, things like that. That part was really cool. There is a window that looks out over the side of the castle there. It is the side as you're walking from Frontierland up that path there. You can see a window there that looks out. It has the most spectacular bathroom that has a bathtub that has sort of twinkling lights above it. I mean, you know, they just thought of all the things. I'm so jealous of folks who had the opportunity to go and stay in that suite, because it was actually really cool. At this point, they're not having people stay there on a regular basis. I think every now and then there's a celebrity that gets to stay there every now and then, or something like that. But yeah, just a really cool experience to see. You always picture, I think, and sort of dream about, right, the suite that would be inside the castle. And Disney did a great job. Of course, they know that everyone dreams about this, so they made it spectacular.
I think it's every Disney fan's dream, like, right? Yeah.
Right.
I always thought of that was the greatest thing about Year of a Million Dreams, though, and I've said this a million times, was like, it didn't matter. Like, every time I walked into a park, I thought I could win that day. Like,
yeah,
I never thought that I didn't have a chance. You know, I don't know, like, sometimes in the real world, I'm super pessimistic about like winning stuff like that. But at Walt Disney World, I thought I could win DVC. You know, like, I literally thought that day, that might be the day.
Right.
I wish they'd bring that back.
I wish they would too, because I didn't get to experience it. That was before my time of being a fan. So like, I think they should just bring it back because of that. Because I didn't.
There you go. Yes, tell them.
If they did that for, like, you know, a promotion, like, you know, say start it this summer or something, people go nuts. That was the craziest thing.
That's the thing. They don't actually need it because
Yeah.
like the rooms are so full
Yeah,
already.
they don't. But I mean, because I think that was really pre-social media, like what it is now. Like with social media, that would be crazy. Nuts.
Yes, it
Anyway.
would.
All right, well, hey, we're gonna get out of here, but here's what I want this weekend while you're hanging out over the New Year's weekend. Tweet us at Be Our Guest Mike, and I'm gonna retweet these. Let us know, or give us an email, and we'll share it next week on the shows. What's a happenstance thing that happened to you? Like, I just happened to be on a cruise with Stuart Scott. I was like, that's Stuart Scott, and like he's giving a talk. I mean, I had no idea I was going to be on that cruise with him, or like Pam or Scott. We've been in the parks with these certain things happening. Mike Wazowski with one eye, bam, right there on Spaceship Earth. Has anything like that happened to you? Let us know, because it's fun to hear. But if you've ever been to the Big Bamboo, tell me that this place actually existed. This ain't a fake Wikipedia page that I found. Let me know, because I'm a lot better about myself, that I'm not losing my marbles as quickly as I know I am. So let me know. Anyway, we're going to get out of here. Of course, our show is always brought to you by The Magic for Less Travel. Check them out for all your Disney trip planning needs over at themagicforless.com. Please use our Amazon affiliate link as you shop online. One extra click helps us out. BeOurGuestPodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you to our patrons who support the show each and every month. Patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast. Get that bonus show called Mike in the Midwest. Give us a follow on the social media. Pam's at TMFLT Pam. Scott's at Epscott, EPSCOT. I'm at Be Our Guest Mike, Instagram and Twitter. We'd love to talk to you this week. And of course, no live show. Nobody's calling us in on New Year's Day. So enjoy it with your friends and family, and start 2023 the right way. All right, we're going to get out of here. And of course, we'll be back again on Monday with a great trip report, and we'll be rolling right into 2023 with you here on the show. So for Pam and Scott, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Friday and a very happy and safe New Year. If you're drinking, please find somebody else to drive you around, because we want you back here for many more shows in the new year. And if you're running here soon next week, take it easy, especially if there's ice out there. This is not the time to get sick or get hurt. Be careful, stay safe, stay healthy, and Happy New Year. All right, see, we cut that one pretty decent.
Yeah,
That one was good.
I was messing with you, Mike.
It was shorter.
But,
No,
it was shorter.
they were both fine.
Yeah,
that was actually a fun one, though. Those were good stories.
It was.
Fun
I'm glad we
episodes.
started early.
Oh, one other
Yes.
thing. So Scott and I are going to try to record stuff on my phone while we're down there to get like one show's worth of just stuff to get done. But if I could do one listener question show sometime between here and I leave, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Like some afternoon or something.
Yeah, it won't be. Yeah.
Okay.
So we could text, probably not tomorrow. Like maybe like Wednesday or Thursday or something, or Friday.
What's going
Yeah, I mean, I work at home Thursday and Friday, so I can always take a
Just like
midday
a
break
30
or whatever.
Just like a 30-minute one, because that'd be fine. Because most of us will be down there anyway that week. We'll text about it.
Okay.
Nothing tomorrow though, because like I'm super busy and I just want to catch up and get that.
All right.
But,
Cool.
yeah, just one more show, because what I'll do is we'll try to record enough interviews that I can get home and put those together for the Friday show, and I can put the Wednesday show out before I leave. So that'll give me, because I get home on Tuesday morning, so that'll give me between Tuesday and Friday to put that show together to put out for the feed Friday, and then I'll be covered.
Okay.
I think.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, have a
All
good
right,
dinner.
cool.
And thanks for
All
this.
right. We'll see y'all.
See you, Pam.
All
Happy
right,
New Year.
Bye. Happy New Year.
Yeah, bye.